back there a little bit later, but now let's continue with stories making headlines. The government continues to advance the 100% renewable energy agenda. Manufacturers are, however, accusing government of a mismatch between its policies and their implementation. Jasmine Murani reports.
The manufacturing industry in the country has time and again decried the high cost of power and the adverse effects it has had on the sector. Renewable energy like solar power is much cheaper.
So the question would be, why are we not having an avalanche? Why are people not solar everywhere? Yes, solar everywhere is a good idea, but with caution.
2 months ago, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers made clear the industry's readiness to shun Kenya Power by generating captive power. This while appearing before the National Assembly Committee on Energy. And while this would mean reprieve for not just industry but also consumers in equal measure, the transition is complicated. Government may have passed favorable regulations, but industry says the implementation of the same is wanting.
Let's say, for instance, the provisions on captive power where you need to generate and consume for your own use. We are still capped at 1 megawatt without due process of licensing. Now, when you go for licensing, the feeling is that it takes a little bit too long.
The cost of taxation, the import taxes on the components have become a huge barrier to entrepreneurs. But secondly, and I think even more importantly, has been the lack of strategy and communication on the full electricity grid expansion plan. Without that, businesses and consumers are uncertain whether they should invest in the solar equipment or whether they should not.
Renewable power such as solar is even harder to implement. Why? Because
cost of money, if you're borrowing from local banks today, you'll be lucky if you get it at 14%. Otherwise, then it depends on somebody must do a big scale so that he can attract international financing.
the government's selective approach to creating incentives on certain solar components has made it unattractive. This has been confusing to industries looking to make the shift to renewable captive power.
Those fiscal incentives are only targeting a few components that are specific to solar and not full installation. And that makes it complex, especially for solar engineers and solar project developers.
Worse still, inherent challenges with solar power, such as its unreliability and its storage, have made it a bigger pain for the industry.
Industry and manufacturing, for that matter, is taking solar as complementary to Kenya Power, so that the component of solar offsets the bill.
And this is where green hydrogen comes in, except we would have to wait until 2027. That is when Kenya will have its first green hydrogen plant.
By 2030, we should see the prices of green hydrogen really decreasing by about 60%. And that will really then it will bring that sense to using green hydrogen in our industrial processes as a feedstock, also in chemical, and also in decarbonizing sectors that we can't electrify.
So what can the government do to ease the transition for the manufacturing sector?
The government can align its practices, particularly administrative practices, when it comes to implementing tax exemption. It's still a tedious process. It's not automatic.
Kenya continues to leap towards 100% renewable energy, the challenges notwithstanding. Will the government heed the industry's call to pave the way for renewable, affordable energy for manufacturing? That remains to be seen. Jasmine Murani for KTN News.
Thank you, Jasmine, for that report. But now we go back to Safari Park for the FKE Annual Awards, as that exercise is ongoing. Let's cross over and follow